let's move on to the next segment. Let's talk about people. First question: how does Infineon attract and retain talent around in supply chain?
All right. So in terms of talent attraction, we have a very strong engagement with universities, be it in Singapore or in Munich. So in Munich, we have a lot of working students. In Singapore, we offer a lot of internship. We offer system development project, final year project, and things like this, so that we can scout new talents. We do participate to forum as well, to also picture out what supply chain has to give, doing career talk in university, and definitely we also rely on our internal network, so either colleagues who move to another company who might be interested to come back, or colleagues who want to recommend the colleagues, so that we minimize the risk of hiring somebody who might not fit in the organization. So this is for the attraction part. For the retention, I think what is important is to offer challenging tasks, exposure to global project, offering a sense of ownership, so that people are very motivated to come to work. We have a very open door and feedback culture. And I was very proud. So last year we did a department survey to gauge along the line of how people feel about having opportunity, being recognized for what they do, teamwork, understanding the goal of the organization. And at the end of the day, the result was 95% of our employees were proud to be part of supply chain.
Wow. That's fantastic.
That's a fantastic result. So I was very proud with this because as a site, we of course have to find our way of existence versus headquarters, and having such a results, particularly in the opportunity to drive project. Was
super.
Very heartwarming.
That's a result to be proud of for sure. 95% is so definitely you must be doing a lot of things right. And I mean to move on to the next question, and it's because it also kind of connected to the attraction part. But the challenge is that typically supply chain is not seen as something necessarily sexy, or career in supply chain is not necessarily seen as something sexy. Maybe for students it's more interesting to go to a bank or to go to a tech company or to Google, or that's supposed to be more interesting typically. What are your thoughts? I mean, how can we, and it's also some challenge that we at Morgan Phillips are facing sometimes, to convince people from similar industries maybe to join from a different angle supply chain career, but what's your thoughts about it, and have you made anything to, around the area you deal with schools, how do you make it more attractive?
I think, traditionally, maybe not sexy, but maybe I have also to understand that very often there is a confusion between logistic and supply chain. So I think the first thing is really to illustrate that logistic is part of supply chain, but supply chain is broader than this. And I would also hope that by now, fresh graduates or people with more experience I've recognized that industry which might be sexy today might definitely not be so sexy tomorrow. So let's take the case of oil and gas. I was discussing with my friend, and we are talking about my goddaughters and what kind of industry I should encourage them to go. And maybe a couple of years ago I would have said, oil and gas, sign for it. With the challenge faced by the industry, definitely I would revert my answer today. So I think there is also now a bit more awareness that those traditionally maybe more sexy industry have had some challenges. You see it in Singapore. I think in the past everybody wanted to go to banking. I think by now you can see more interest in manufacturing, more interest in supply chain, because people document themselves and read around. But besides this, I think it's all about how you position it. So if I take the case of Infineon, we are a technology company. We compete on product primarily. So a couple of years ago might not have a lot of board attention. But when product and technology becomes maybe a bit more challenging because we have already stretched to the maximum, that's where how you deliver the product, how you bring the product to the market, which makes a difference. And that's how finally by now we have board attention. So we present our project, our supply chain roadmaps on a yearly basis. This started with having a vision and a mission for our supply chain, building up the competence as well. So if I illustrate this, when I joined supply chain, actually I started in my position in Shanghai, in a more customer-facing type of organization, so we call it customer logistic management. And when I joined, the statement was from the customer logistic manager team was, we are the sales assistant.
Yeah.
This might not be well true at that time. In the meantime, we build the competence, we build the knowledge, we build the expertise in offering supply chain services to our customer. And if you would ask sales today, they see this team as their partner. They see this team as helping them for all the demand fulfillment activity, while they can focus more on the demand creation.
Yeah.
So that's how step by step you also change the perception. Again, coming with competence, coming with strengthening your supply chain, making sure it's robust, it's transparent. Then that definitely helps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's the hardest skills that for you when you need to hire people, when you need to hire people in your team, what's the hard skills? So the hard skills in supply chain right now.
Well, maybe you might wonder, I'm an engineer, how do I end up in supply chain and how I feel about that? I feel I might not be so effective and efficient in my job if I would not be an engineer. Because supply chain is not about talking. It's also about analytics.
It's mostly about them. Yeah.
It's mostly about analytics, but it's not traditionally the picture people have. And so that's analytical skills is definitely one of the challenging skills to find. We tend to hire people who have more background in business administrations and mathematics. But when you come to understanding system, optimizing business processes, you definitely need strong analytical skills.
Yeah.
So this is definitely the hardest. Then, of course, you would have the pocket of very expert knowledge. Typically in the region, trade compliance would be one, which is also very scarce resources. Because
Asia is very, even Southeast Asia, there's so many rules, regulations.
There are so many rules, regulations, so many different practices. Even when you talk about product classification, HS codes, different countries do it differently. So that will be more on the pocket expert knowledge. Trade compliance is also one of those skills.
Big challenge. We almost need to practice just for that. We could, even in more fields, we could make a lot of money placing those.
Definitely.
And what are some of the skills that the supply chain professional of the future, supply chain 4.0 professional needs to have?
Well, we talk about digitalization, so I think digital savvy is one. If I take my case, I'm currently doing online course on business analytics because I also need to understand the new technology which are coming up, a bit of R programming, a bit of machine learning. So digital savvy is one. But then there are all the other aspects which are more the soft skill side of it. Digitalization, Industry 4.0 means a lot of industry transformation, workforce transformation, so it's going to be a lot of skills around change management, along communication skill, along emotional intelligence. And since also supply chain is becoming more and more global, I think it's important for the Industry 4.0 supply chain 4.0 professional to have really a cosmopolitan exposure. Mm-hmm. So knowledge about culture of the various country where he or she is operating, because we work in more virtual teams with people with different background, different way to deal with projects. And you can only be successful if you can manage this diversity.
And that brings me to a very important question as well, diversity, gender diversity. And obviously you are a great example of an excellent leader in supply chain. But how do we balance it a little bit more? Because again, traditionally we have to look at the fact it's a male-dominated traditionally. How can we get even more, or how do we balance it a bit more?
Well, I have a question for you. Which area is not traditionally male-dominant?
Fair enough. Very good comeback, actually.
I have to say, I joined a Semicon forum, technical forum in Hong Kong. It's male-dominant. I joined a supply chain forum. It's male-dominant. If I take the case of Infineon, within OP, I think we have maybe 2 or 3 females out of 100 top leaders.
Wow.
So we are definitely
can do better,
But here again, something I'm quite proud, because my Asia organization, across all levels, we are 50-50.
Ah, super.
And
great
not
job.
only in customer logistic management, but also in manufacturing IT. We have quite a lot of female looking at software development. And in management, it's about 30-70. So actually not too bad. Infineon has a target as well, so we have from the board some direction as of how we want to push for gender diversity. Though for Asia, I've expanded a bit, not only gender diversity but also cultural diversity.
Yeah,
since
it's equally important.
Since in terms of gender we are quite good, I think we can look at cultural. For my organization, if we stay in gender, I did form a couple of years ago a female network. And they call themselves Woman of Willpower.
Wow, nice, great acronym, yeah.
And the purpose was really multifold. So first, for them to understand what is key skills for a male leader, key skills from different skills from a female leaders, how to address those differences. So that's why they started with a bit of surveying their peers, their boss, their spouse in some cases, to come up with a couple of items and to try to drive some training or sharing activity. The purpose is also to build resilience in female leaders, give them a safe environment where they can exchange debates on the challenge they are facing. And through this, I also give them the chance to network with Infineon management. So whenever my colleagues, my peers from Munich are joining up, I make sure they have informal discussion to bring up their queries, how they are seen in the organization, also that they create their network and maybe get some future job opportunity. So it requires quite nurturing. So it requires strong desire to make a change, not only glossy paper commitment.
Not just on paper,
diversity bring innovation, but let's keep like it is today. Then, if you don't genuinely believe in it, then nothing will happen. But it's true that maybe female tends to be a bit less assertive. So I strongly believe the statement that male will apply for a position if he feels 60% qualified. A female will apply for the same position if he feels 120% qualified. That's where the resilience and the encouragement comes about.
Yeah. No, great sharing, great example. how do you see the role of HR as a business partner to you as a supply chain leader? Where do you see HR sitting in the whole scheme of things? Do you have an HR business partner that focuses very closely?
So we do have a HR business partner. I think it's important for this setup to be effective and efficient, that the business partner understand clearly your challenges of today and of tomorrow, the needs of your organization, also coming up with some recommendation as of how to build resilience, how to look at your pyramid of roles and see whether there are some gaps. Very important that they help in all the sourcing of candidate activities, because we are all very busy with daily task, operation topic. And it's important that whenever you have openings, that comes some shortlisting with some clear argumentation why is this candidate. That can only be possible if the business partner understands really the business. And of course, as and when we need to transform, either because of digitalization or because some tasks are transferred here and there, we always need to have some organization development discussion. And that's where a business partner can also play a very important role of moderator, of maybe sometimes acting as a neutral party or the person who will a bit challenge the status quo, since we tend all to be a bit conservative or believing that what we do is the best we can do. And so when you have external views, that also helps to open your horizon.
Yeah. And final question on this segment, and you've touched upon it briefly, but if there's any other thoughts that you can add to how do you groom future supply chain leaders in Infineon?
So I think we have several tracks, and I think your previous speaker from DHL e-commerce, Scott, mentioned about it, the 70-20-10 principle. So it's not only unique to DHL. So we really look at experience and project exposure or job exposure at higher level, coaching and mentoring, and then formal training. If we look at our different populations, so for young talent, we in fact start quite early. So I started a couple of years ago to offer scholarship, industrial scholarship, which gives us the advantage of following from starting of the university up to graduation candidate. The person comes to us for all internships throughout the 4 years horizon. Then through the internship we can rotate the person into different areas of supply chain, so that when the person graduates, she or he has a well-rounded up view and maybe a clear perspective as of which area he or she wants to go. We do offer what we call international graduate program, which is more meant for fresh graduates or people with 2 or 3 years experience, preferably with a master degree. And again, the principle is the same, rotating around different functions, but here for international graduate program, we also look at different sites. So spending a bit exposure, so a bit exposure in manufacturing, a bit exposure, so going to sites, a bit exposure to headquarters, so that the person also can build a network, because supply chain or supply network, like we call it today, really also rely on getting your job done through your network. So that's definitely for maybe the most freshest employee. If we look at the most experienced talent, this will go definitely more through project assignments, as well as coaching, mentoring, formal training from time to time, but I'm a strong believer that you learn better by doing than just by being very passive in a classroom. Nevertheless, for those who want to go a bit deeper, a bit in a mathematical model, a bit in process mapping, a bit in score model, because we manage our supply chain according to score, we do have our own supply chain academy. which is a partnership with a university in Ireland, where we offer two sessions, so either a bachelor module in a bachelor degree or a master degree.
Wow.
And so our employee will engage. So for the bachelor degree, it's 2 years program, a lot of online evening course plus 2 resident module in Ireland. The master is about 1 year, same principle. So this is
impressive. I mean, not a lot of companies do that. So that's quite interesting.
So this was we recognize. So we do study supply chain trends. So every year we discuss about the trend. Talent was one which was identified a couple of years back, and that's how we thought, okay, having our own supply chain academy would help in building up our talent pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
In Singapore, I have a little bit branched out. So my dream was for the Irish university to find a partner in Singapore so that we could also offer local content. It didn't work out, but if some of our employees are interested to to pursue a master degree, we will definitely support it. So I have one of my girls doing a master degree, supply chain master at NTU currently.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, NTU is
so that's
very much recognized.
That's from different angles.
Thank you.
From academic to more job related.
So I mean, again, it's to be, and I mean, this sheds further light into perhaps why 95% of the people in your organization say that they're happy there, because I think you do actually a lot of things to help them keep developing, learning, empowering them, giving them a lot of exposure, and that, as human beings, I think that typically people like that. So good job and good sharing.
This is the end of part 2. Stay tuned for part 3, where we dig deeper in personal habits and success stories.